in order to explain how I got into balancing, I have to start with point technique. And point technique is when you hold the hoop on the inside wall, and so the hoop kind of hangs, and the hoop is moved real passively across the body, and has a, I guess he's familiar to Tai Chi or something like that. Point technique in my practice then forked into what we call swing technique. And swing technique is now, in today's hoop terms, we would say it's a linear isolation, but back then we just would swing the hoop back and forth, and we would hold the hoop on the back of the hand like this, and swing would lend its way to tosses. Well, what happened for me was I wanted to be able to swing out and catch the hoop. And so I would swing it out and then try to catch it into a balance. And after a while, or I would swing it out and just pop it with my hand, so I'd be here, and then I might pop it. And then I would go back in, and there's a bunch of videos that I have where I do that. But what happened for me was I started to get to where I wanted to be able to hold the balance longer. And I wanted to be able to really lock it in. And so at that point, I started working on it just like I'm doing now, where I'm holding the hoop on the back of my hand on the outside wall, focusing in on a point, and then slipping into a balance with it. And I would stay here for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, like a song of practice. And then eventually, it led to more and more freedom, and to getting into just one hand, and I would work the left, and then I'd work the right. And this swing, was always at its roots, coming out. And I'm using the back of my hand, the back of my fist maybe, or my just straight up fist. One of the things about balance, as far as the tutorial aspect of this goes, it's good to get started, and it just takes a lot of flight time, but I can give you a couple pointers that help me, and they seem to help my students. One, there's several ways to do this. There's 2 ways, but the way that I think is the easiest is to focus on the highest point of the hoop and to create a triangle with your hands. So I roll my hands out onto the back of my hand, but my focus is going to be right here. And my advice when you're working on balance is never look at your hands. Always look at a focal point, because that focal point will become how you hold the hoop. It'll feel like your gaze is holding the hoop. So the first method is I'm going to hold the hoop here, roll my hands out, and I'll actually wind up holding the hoop across my 4 fingers, and I'll focus right here. I roll out and I focus. Now the height of my hands and where I hold them might make it easier at first, and so if you're really struggling, you can try holding your hands way up here, or you can try holding them down here. The second thing, and probably the most important thing, is to remember that balance is living. And by living, what I mean is that there can be no dead parts. And so when I'm holding this balance right now, my feet are helping me hold it. My legs are helping me hold it. So rather than if you lock your legs like this, you limit your range. If I unlock the legs, if I put a little bend in them, then they're responding to the hoop before I even realize anything has changed. So if I want to start this at home, I lock in on that one point there, and I try to hold it with my gaze while keeping the body alive, meaning I don't lock anything, everything pushing towards that point. Now there is another technique, and I'm doing it right now, and I think it's worth mentioning. is that I can create the balance by using my vision to create a frame. So right now I'm framing what I'm seeing with my hoop. It's almost like my peripheral vision is staying locked in on the hoop, or at least that's what it feels like. And then that allows me to freeze me up and I can look around. Sort of. I think because of that feeling of falling in line and alignment, balance has spoken to me personally in my practice, and it dominates my practice right now. And I think it does that for many reasons, but I think one of the biggest is that my life path it can become disorienting, and I don't spend very much time in one place. And the balance is like a new place that I have found that feels very familiar and home. And so now it's like my hoop dance has become even more meditative and more self-nurturing. And it's crazy, but I get in and I start to balance, and as I calm down, my balance gets better. And suddenly, like, there's no more, the mystery is like revealed that, I'm physically better at balance when I'm emotionally more calm, and they're connected and one helps the other. And that's really pulled me into it, and it's made it really beautiful for me. And it's brought in a very unexpected gift. And that is the gift of realizing that my body can grow, that my skills can grow. Like, I'm approaching 39 or 40, I'm at the end of 39, and I'm growing. My sense of touch is better. It feels good, and it came through my own effort, hours of doing it, pursuing it, and now it's given back in this huge way of satisfaction.